Me telling you that our problems aren't about left versus right or Democrat versus Republican, but about a handful of rich assholes and corporations whose only mission is to keep us as cogs in the machine until we grind ourselves into the ground while they make more money in a month than we make in a lifetime. That's woke as. You probably don't know what woke actually means, at least not really. Most of us have a general idea, but unless you know where the word came from and how it was hijacked, what it means might actually surprise you. Woke used to mean something simple: pay attention, stay alert, and don't let the world catch you off guard, especially if you're black in America. It was like a survival skill, a warning passed between people who had every reason to stay ready. But now it's a punchline, a slur, something Fox News spits out like it's poison. Politicians throw it around like it explains everything that's wrong with America. So what happened? How did a word meant to protect people get flipped into something used to shame them? Who pulled that off, and why did it work? Because they didn't just change the word, they rewired how millions of people think about how we're all connected. And we've been playing defense ever since. So let's talk about it. While the first use of the word woke in the way that we're talking about today is unknown, most agree that black folk singer Lead Belly was the first to go on record with the phrase "stay woke" in 1938. Lead Belly, whose birth name is Huddy Leadbeller, used the phrase when talking about his song Scottsboro's Boys, a track about 9 black teens who were falsely accused of raping 2 white women in Alabama in 1931. When Lead Belly met those boys in person, he told them, "Stay woke, keep your eyes open." Stay woke was meant to be a warning passed between black folks to stay ready, stay sharp, and to never let your guard down, because being in the wrong place at the wrong time could literally be the end of your life. And over the years, woke evolved, first in the black communities, then more broadly. It came to mean paying attention to injustices in all forms, not just racism, but sexism, homophobia, transphobia, classism, and police brutality, all of it. If something wasn't right, being woke meant that you noticed and you actually gave a damn. You were awake and you were aware of the injustices happening around you. That's what the word meant. And for a while, that mattered. For a while, being called woke was a compliment, a sign of affection, a way of saying you see the world clearly and that you care. But like almost every other piece of black culture that builds towards something powerful, it was taken away from us, stripped from its roots, repacked, and flipped into something used to shame the very people it was meant to protect. Because here's what our enemies saw: they saw a word that connected people across race, gender, class, and identity. They saw people organizing, people speaking up, people teaching each other not just how the system works, but who it works for. They saw a movement with the potential to force real change for the folks that they have spent generations trying to keep down. And they couldn't have any of that. So they did what thin-skinned, powerful people always do when they're scared. They didn't argue with it, of course not. They didn't try to understand it, of course not. They mocked it. Because if they can make you feel embarrassed for caring, if they can make you feel ridiculous for naming what's broken in this country, then they wouldn't have to fix a damn thing. That was the plan: to strip the word of its meaning, to turn it into a joke, to turn it into a slur. And by the time most people caught on, woke didn't mean anything anymore. It just meant something or someone I don't like. That's exactly what they wanted. And once the word was hollowed out, it didn't just disappear. No. That's not how they work. It got repackaged and sold back to the public as a threat. Woke equals danger. Be afraid of woke. And of course, just like DEI, they turned it into another dog whistle. Woke became their own little inside way of saying what they really meant but couldn't say out loud. A stand in for the word that they really wanted to use but can't. You know what I mean? And no, I'm not gonna say it, but it sure as hell isn't ninja, my ninja. And that's when you started hearing it at rallies, on red pill podcasts, slapped onto school board meetings, bathroom bills, and every Fox News segment that needed a villain to keep you angry and afraid and ready to keep watching right after the next commercial break. And it worked. They couldn't define it, and they didn't have to. In fact, it was probably better for them that they didn't. That way, they could use it for anything they wanted to. A book about racism? Woke. A company celebrating Pride Month? Woke. A teacher mentioning the existence of gay people? Woke. Me telling you that our problems aren't about left versus right or Democrat versus Republican, but about a handful of rich assholes and corporations whose only mission is to keep us as cogs in the machine until we grind ourselves into the ground while they make more money in a month than we make in a lifetime. That's woke as fuck. Woke became the all purpose scapegoat, a way to keep us fighting each other instead of focusing on a system that's holding us back. And when you add Donald Trump into the mix, his hijacking of the Republican Party, his elevation of the most vile opinions this country has heard in decades, it's no wonder people are afraid of being called woke.
Everything woke turns to shit, okay? It's true. It's true. Look at what's happening.
And just like that, the rebrand was complete. These ignorant assholes pulled it off. They convinced the very people who most need to wake the up that staying asleep and pledging loyalty to dear leader was somehow the best path forward. It didn't matter that they were using woke to attack policies they hadn't even read, or that they couldn't define it without melting down in real time. It stuck because it felt good to say. And when something feels good to say, people will repeat it even if they don't understand it. And that's how you turn a movement into a meme. It's how you turn social justice for everyone into nobody but me and my rich friends gets shit. And it's damn sure how you train millions of people to roll their eyes at anything that even sounds like progress. Not by disproving it because they can't, not by debating it because they lose, but by making it cringe. And cringe is something Donald Trump is very good at. And once that switch flipped, once woke became the trigger word for every fake culture war outrage, you couldn't even have a real conversation anymore. Not about race, not about gender, not about equality. Because now, if you even try, you're just being woke. And nobody wants to be that, right? Not if you've been taught to think that it makes you weak or crazy or part of some radical leftist agenda trying to cancel Jim Bob or Jethro who just want to call me a goddamn ninja. That's how deep this runs, not just through media, through identity, through fear. Because if you say it enough times, in enough places, with enough volume, people stop asking what it actually means. They just know that it's bad. And when that happens, truth doesn't stand a chance. And the saddest part of it all is that they didn't even have to fight that hard. Because once the right turned woke into a weapon, the left dropped it like it was Snoop Dogg performing for Donald Trump. Democrats started tiptoeing, backpedaling, and running as fast as they could to the political center, avoiding words like equity, inclusion, and systematic anything, like saying them out loud was going to summon some MAGA mob. And I get it. When the other side is foaming at the mouth, screaming woke this and woke that like it's some Harry Potter spell, your instinct might be to just disengage, to stay quiet, to hide in your little corner and hope the storm passes. But here's the problem. When you let your enemies define the narrative, they don't stop at just defining it. They own it. They get to frame the terms of the war, and suddenly you're not fighting for justice anymore. You're just begging not to be called names. And it shows. Because let's be real, a lot of these Democrats didn't even understand what woke actually meant to begin with. They liked the branding of it, the momentum, their surface level optics, but they didn't grow up with it. They didn't feel the weight of it. They weren't raised hearing it as a warning from someone who loved them. Stay woke out there, young lady. Keep your eyes up, young man. Many Democrats borrowed it without doing the work. So yeah, when it got hard, they dropped it without hesitation because it was never theirs in the first place. Woke came from Black communities. It came from struggle, from pain, from having to read the room fast enough to survive it. And when it got pulled into the political mainstream, it got diluted, it got softened, it got turned into a slogan, and voters noticed. You're damn right they did. And I don't do this very often, but if you think the Democratic Party is too woke, you're wrong. They aren't too woke, but they are absolutely too weak to stand 10 toes down on what is best for the people, too weak to stand against mega corporations who help fund their campaigns at the expense of policy designed to, again, keep us as cogs in the machines for as long as possible. And I'll give credit to the right. They know how to rally their base with fire. The left couldn't even rally theirs with the goddamn truth. I voted my conscience. I always do. But I won't lie and tell you that I'm proud of the party that I'm trying to help support. They have failed to convince people of the things I know to be true. Life isn't supposed to be like this. We aren't supposed to be this divided. We have technology that has connected us more than ever at any point in history, yet we're more alone than ever before. People want to work hard, and they want to have that hard work manifest into a life worth living, not a constant battle of a full work week on top of a side hustle and backbreaking budgets just to make ends meet. People want community. They want air and food that is clean and healthy. They want shelter that's not just affordable, but built to last. People want a healthcare system that's designed to keep us going without having to cut off an arm and a leg to pay for it. The ability to actually stop and rest without getting crushed by the weight of it all. And of course, we want our children to be able to get an education without needing a bulletproof backpack and walls that turn their class into a fortress. So, you want to call me woke? I'll wear that with a badge of honor. I'm woke as f. The better question is, why aren't you?